Alrighty. Here it is, 7:01 a.m. We are in Rifle, home of Lauren Boebert, a congressman who has given the establishment hell, we hope. I thought that it would be a really nice thing to, well, just run through the main street down here in Rifle. And Rifle's a nice town. It's a neat little town. I've always liked it. Well, I think I want to actually. Let me just take that back. There's some nice little cafes and things in here. It's a nice little town, anyway. So just a quick shot of the main drag of Rifle. I don't know if that's a term that's used anymore. The main drag. I don't even know why it would be a drag. Of course, this is, what, Gay Pride Month, so drag would probably be a popular term, right? And I don't know who the hell decided it was May or June, Gay Pride Month. I didn't have any input in that. And if you think about it, whether you like it or not, people don't associate homosexuality with good behavior. They just don't. That's just the fact. And they also don't associate pride with good behavior. I mean, most people don't. And so when you combine both of those things and you celebrate a month of that, that seems awful pagan. I think would be a good way to describe that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I want to do today, I think it'd be very cool to do this, is show you the old Highway 6, what's left of it anyway, and there are probably some pieces of it that are completely gone, but we'll do our best. Rather than go down I-70, we're going to go down Highway 6, all the way to the end of it. And we're not going to make it down into DeBeque Canyon, but we're heading to Grand Junction. But we're going to start here at Colorado's coolest rest area. I've just lost my glasses. Yeah. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the nicest rest area in Colorado. It's not the fanciest, but it's down here on the river. There's a cool walking trail, the old bridge. Well, might be illegal to walk on it. Looks to me like it's blocked up pretty good. There's a lot of room to camp here. There's a lot of room to hang out here. The bathrooms are here. There's a little visitor center. It's pretty nice. I went in and looked at it. This is a really nice rest area. If you want to, well, the thing to do is go to Scenic, grab some food, or whatever your restaurant is. Go grab some food. Then come down here and have it. Let's see if I can. That looks pretty bad. I don't think that that's a, yeah. I don't think that that's a design thing. I think that is a I think that is a failed graphic. Now it's facing east, so it's going to hit the morning sun, which down here can certainly be intense. But I just want to just run through here and show you this nice rest area. This is the nicest one in Colorado. There's a really nice one in Edwards, though, and there is another really nice one north of Trinidad on I-25. That it's a nice rest area. I could make another gay pride joke, right? Trinidad, transgender, South Park. I'm going to let you put all those little tidbits together, or not. I'm going to try to get out of here, and we're going to try to catch Highway 6 all the way from downtown Rifle to its termination, which I think it loops around I-70 a little bit before you get into the tunnel. And at that point, then I'll have to get on I-70 and decide whether I want to continue filming that or not. I'm going to have to go on the roundabout to get out of here. There's no way I'm going to... Yeah, we'll just do that. I knew that the traffic would be pretty crappy here, but it looks like to me like I've got a light. Yeah, it's getting a little better. Just gotta go through. Okay, gonna just go ahead. Yielding here. Getting to the center lane. I'm not loving roundabouts, but there's something that if I got used to, I'd be okay with. Kamala blows and Biden sucks. Huh? On that beat up little car that just went by. You never know where you're going to find wisdom. On the beat up little, was it a Ford Taurus or something? So we're passing over the Colorado River, getting back into Rifle. I'll try not to get lost. Or in a wreck, for that matter. There we go. You can see it again. Kamala blows, Biden sucks. I like it. I approve. I approve of that message. Yeah, we're gonna. There we go. So, now Highway 6 might be further, you might find remnants of it back east up towards Glenwood. I think that it probably exists, but I thought it'd be fun to just catch this on the way from Rifle to Junction. Well, from Rifle as far as it goes towards Junction, and then we'll get off of it, and then we'll see it's 7-11. Let's see if I want to end the video there or what. And so we're looking at Battlement Mesa. And it may not look like it, but that mesa is 2,000 or 3,000 feet higher than where we're at right now. Over on the other side of the valley is, now there's some hose. You know, I ordered some tubing. I wonder if that's that'd suck. Get back home and see that gigantic spool in my front driveway. And that would be all that would fit in my front driveway. So this is a frontage road to a frontage road. Well, the I-70, and then there's a road over there, so there's like two frontage roads here. It's kind of funny to me to see but this is the old highway. This is the old Highway 6. And the reason that I think it would be nice to do the frontage road is because a lot of people don't particularly care for the high speeds and the being crowded up on I-70. If you're a tourist and you want to take a more relaxed, drive through this canyon, just stay on the frontage road. I mean, it'll cross over back and forth, a few times from the north to the south side of I-70. It'll go through a couple little towns, and it's like the old-fashioned way people made it down to Grand Junction from here, or made it to DeBeque Canyon. The old 6, the old highway there are pieces of it left in DeBeque Canyon, but there are not too many pieces of it left. But it's used for a frontage road and for service roads and whatever in the canyon, but it's split up quite a bit. I wish that I could get all the way down through there, but this is kind of cool because I can stay on the frontage road all the way to down here into the canyon. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. Oh, you see all this oil field stuff over to our right. This was where Exxon spent billions and billions of dollars, I would assume, on the oil shale project back in the late 70s or the 80s. Then they just shut it down. But it's not really shut down. It's still a thing, and there are still people maintaining the infrastructure, and who knows, they might still do something with it. So if I would have wanted to, I could have got onto I-70 right there. But we don't want to do that. We want to go this way. There we go. I think it's a better view here because we wander around a little bit more, and that's nice for this camera because you can see more of this valley as we curve and twist around a little bit, and you can see I-70 and how busy it is and how nice it is not to be up on it. But it's neat to look at. I was in a multi-car wreck on this road somewhere in this area where there was road work being done, and a flag person turn the stop sign. I'm not one I should be, but that's what happened. There were a bunch of cars, and I think what happened was that the first car in the line stood on their brakes, and there was a bunch of cars. It was quite busy, and so every car behind that car had to be on top of their reaction time, or there was going to be a problem, and there was a problem. By the time it got to me, I did stand on my brakes, and I stopped probably a foot behind the car in front of me. However, the guy behind me, driving a Lincoln Continental, I think, with a roof rack on it, which was weird for, that time of, that decade, right? A little bit late 70s or early, mid 80s. It was in the 80s this happened. He hit me pretty good. I was in a Granada, a 76 Granada, and he pushed that car, my car, into the car in front of me. So I was officially part of the wreck. It's kind of nice. We've got a little moisture in the air. Some rock fall there. So the railroad track is south of us. We're going west. Not due west, but west-ish. And there are some county roads up on the hills over to the south. There are a lot of farms up there. Really pretty looking this time of the year. A little. So far, this cloudy, cool weather is keeping the bugs down, and I'm liking that a lot. Anyway, yeah, the railroad track is south of us. We're here on the old Highway 6. The interstate is over to our right and above us right now. And I am officially able to drink my coffee now because I've got over 85 miles traveled. Although today's going to be a long day. That's cool. It's a nice view. I've done some filming this week in a different resolution. And I'm going to put a couple videos out to see what they look like. To get them through the complete process. But for this video, I've got it back on my normal resolution, which is the highest resolution that I can get. My only issue with the setting is that I don't have a 60 frames per second setting. But if I did, my files would be gigantic. Still, I would prefer the higher quality. And so I want to see if the lower resolution, which does have a higher frame rate, might not give me a better quality than my highest resolution with the lower frame rate. So I'm testing this. And I've taken several videos with that thought in mind. So we'll see. I'll put them out. I'll let you know which they are. You can always check too if you go to settings, if you're watching it on YouTube. Well, That's where you're going to be watching it. If you're watching on Roku, you can go to, well, it doesn't matter. You'll still go to your settings. Now, this little town is famous. Well, maybe it's not really famous, but Rulison. There was a nuclear weapon set off underneath, down here in this area somewhere. It was part of the oil shale experiment. The idea was it was going to fracture the oil shale and basically an early form of fracking, maybe. But I don't know how many atomic weapons were set off in, underneath other oil fields. The only one I know of in the world happened here in Colorado, in Rulison, or in this area. So, yeah. I think little house. Mike Rowe did a Dirty Jobs here in Rifle, and he went down into a sewer system, and pretty interesting. And I thought I knew where that little building was, and I think that I just passed it, but I could be wrong, because they have these little buildings are on either side of Rifle. It is probably part of that system, but anyway, I enjoyed that show. Dirty Jobs was a great show. Mike Rowe is a pretty cool guy. And for someone who lives in San Francisco and who is a journalist, he's amazingly not woke. I should probably say that quieter. I don't want to tip off people in San Francisco that Mike Rowe might actually be a logical person that uses common sense instead of leftist ideology to make important decisions. Unlike the rest of them, seems like, anyway, from my perspective, the rest of the people in San Francisco. The ones that make decisions. The ones that have microphones, And just so you know, the speed limit is 50. Typically I'm going a little bit over. I'm going a nostalgic speed. That's all I'm going to say. Well, I'll say this. A nostalgic speed that everyone hated. Sammy Hagar hated it probably more than anyone. I think I could say that. I could put that out on the record and not be considered a liar, a fibber, or a bragger, or a rumor spreader. It's a shame a rabbit got hit on this road. So this is cool. We're going to go over the top of I-70 now. We're going to kind of cruise around on the north side of it for a little bit. So over the top. Who's king? Who's king now, you a-holes on I-70? We're the king. We are above you. That's what I meant by that. It was an engineering term, not an arrogance, not a display of arrogance yet. Well. That's a pretty big mountain in front of us. That's the mountain you see when you get down into this valley. Is that Battlement Mountain? I don't think so. I can't remember the name of that mountain. Not coming. Battlement Mesa. What's that mountain called? Oh, it'll come to me, maybe. If it doesn't, there's a comment section. Feel free. Be nice. Really good. Temperature's really pleasant today. It's probably high 50s, maybe. Oh, rest area. I've never stopped at this rest area. I don't think. My day is going to be pretty long. I'll go into Grand Junction, then I'll head towards Gunnison. I'm pretty sure that I want to go through Hotchkiss. I don't know. There's some pretty substantial road construction going on between Montrose and Gunnison. But I do love that route. As a kid, I mean, we lived in Montrose and Olathe and Gunnison, for that matter, when I was a kid. So it's really nice to go down there and remember, remember being a kid and traveling. As kids, a pretty large family, we had our own landmarks that we thought were important. There was a cabin or a house or something in Cimarron that was important. What's going on here? It's like a big, maybe road construction? There's a big jam up here. I don't think I have to worry about it. It's everyone trying to get on the interstate. Oh, it's probably people going to work in the ski towns. That's what that is. You can't see it. Well, you might have saw it when it came around. Yeah, that whole, all the I-70 on-ramp. I mean, all that road is completely backed up all the way to about here. All those people could be going on that frontage road if they wanted to, but they're probably don't have a lot of time to get to work. They probably have to get there at 8, 7:29 now. So they probably need the speed of the interstate to make it on time. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the ski town disruption. It's not that good of a thing for a town or an area. And then a lot of the ski towns on I-70 are all basically wholly owned. For instance, Vail, everything in Vail is pretty much owned by Vail Incorporated, whoever that is, a multinational company of some kind. So when you rent something or there are other stores there. All right, we were just through Parachute. I do believe that was Parachute. I've got somebody behind me, probably wants to get to work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let him get around me. I'm filming. I'm not racing. And I don't want to impede other people's progress. Got another one behind me too. Yeah, this is really nice. Don't really have to rush. Which way I want to go here? Got a roundabout. I'm not interested in 70. So, but I'll take my time, let you take a look. Looks like there's a marijuana farm up on the mesa. I'm assuming all that white stuff is probably a marijuana farm. West 6. West 6. Here we go. Interesting. The guy that I pulled over and let pass, he's still on this road. So there are. I mean, yeah, there are people that like this road. Actually, most sane people would like this road. But if I was in a hurry, I'd be on the interstate. But I'm not in a hurry. And actually, I'm not really losing too much time. So it's obviously going to take a little bit longer to get down there, but not much. And I'll say the trade-off in safety is certainly worth it. Last week I did shoot a video of 70. Was it last week or it was recently? That really bothers me. Here's the thing. I'm looking at a gigantic solar array. These guys are getting government funding to put these panels up, and they're actually, I mean, the efficiency of a solar panel is getting better. I think they're up to around like 21%. That's pretty amazing because, I mean, it's taking some time to get there. However, the people that are doing that is probably XL Energy. They are putting that power on the grid. They're making it at a wholesale rate and charging us a retail rate. These are the same people that back in the 70s, well, maybe not literally the same people, but the same industry, that in the 70s and the 80s influenced the Department of Energy to get away from small scale solar and small scale alternative energy. That used to be a big deal in the 70s, and everybody thought it was a cool thing. It wasn't a politically charged thing like it is now, because it wasn't wrapped up with the climate hoax or the environmental bullshit that the left likes to, bullshit us about. So it was a lot of fun, the alternative energy thing. And I mean, being a conservative, I'm a conservative. I think that alternative energy makes tons of sense. If you can get energy from the sun, get it. So I worked on a project in the 90s where around here, solar, its best use, because we have a lot of sun, a lot of hours a day of sun. You probably didn't even see it. Oh well. I'm going to cut all that out. It's so sad to hit a little creature. I mean, there's no way I could not hit him. He was in the bushes and just ran into the road. It was his time to go, and I guess I'm the one that gets to hit a bunch of creatures. I hit 2 creatures yesterday. A little prairie dog ran right under my car, and I believe I hit him. And then a bird flew right in. I couldn't do a goddamn thing about it. And this is the same way. There's not a damn thing that I could do about it. I hate hitting creatures. I hate it. Hello. I just have to understand that, these are God's creatures. God made them. God loves them. God has a plan for all of us, including those little creatures. And I think when we die, we will go back to God in some fashion. And I think when little creatures like that die, they go back to God. They get. It's just sad. I hate to do it. So in the 70s, oh no, not in the 70s, but in the early 90s, I was working on that solar project, and I made a parabolic reflector, and I made a boiler, and I made an electronic control system that operated the thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and get off the road and let this guy get around to me. I don't want people around me when I'm filming today. So, there we go. So it was a pretty cool system. I called it a modified spherical parabolic reflecting concentrator. And I call it modified because I went through and I changed it. When I initially designed it, I aimed I allowed the parabolic dish to pick the point where all the mirrors would be aimed at it. And I cut 3-inch mirrors and basically just glued them to the inside of this dish. And it made an extremely accurate and high temperature point. I mean, it was pretty awesome. I could get that thing out in the sun. It was about a 7-foot diameter dish. It wasn't a satellite dish either. It was an actual parabolic dish. A satellite dish will reflect, but it doesn't reflect like a parabolic dish. Your focal point is different. I could put a 1x2 in the center of that thing, and in 10 seconds it would be on fire. It was pretty amazing. So I changed the design, and I pulled the mirrors out, and I built I built an aiming device, which was a laser and I think a rifle scope and a laser on a tripod, so that I could aim it from infinity, right? That was what I was doing. I mean, I picked a point, and that was infinity. That's where the sun is. And I re-aimed my mirrors so that they all would focus on a larger area. Basically, the area of the boiler that I built that I wanted to heat up. And so I put that system together, and it would heat up water within a few minutes. I mean, it would heat it up amazingly fast. I could get, what was it, if I can remember right, I think it was 125 pounds, and I'm thinking that I had about 100 degrees of superheat. So I think that the temperature of the steam was, I thought it was more than that. Maybe it was less, but there was a substantial amount of superheat in that steam. For those of you that don't know, steam, when you make steam is the same temperature as the water boiling. It's just a vapor now. It has more energy in it. It doesn't make it hotter at that point, but that extra energy allows it to become a gas. It pushes the atoms apart, or the individual atoms apart, and conforms to Boyle's gas law at that point. But the water never really gets hotter than boiling. It will turn into steam. But you can heat steam up, and they call it dry steam, but it's superheated steam, and superheat means whatever degrees above boiling. And I think it was superheated steam. I don't remember the number. I don't want to quote it because I can't remember it. But I know that I would get it up to about 125 pounds, and the steam was superheated. And that happened quickly. And this was a dish that would just wake up and find the sun. That was the circuitry that I designed for it. This all analog stuff. It wasn't computer. Well, it was analog circuitry, yeah. It was all comparators that I used. Little summing amplifiers and dividing amplifiers and comparators. And, we made gates out of that. And I had a little photovoltaic array that I used. And once that array was, I had four photovoltaic, I think photoresistors, nothing fancy. Once they were getting an equal amount of sunlight, it would stop the motors, the x-axis and the y-axis motors. And then once the sun would move, and it was quite precise. And so like every minute or so it would move. That's how precise it was. It would follow the sun that well. And I did all this on my own. But when I was doing this, I was living with my parents. And so I was spending my money on this project, and they thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, so I was freeloading off of them to do this. And the intention was, at the time, I was going down the SBA road and the grant road, the thing that you're supposed to do, right? When you're wanting to start a business. And so I wrote a grant application for this system after I built it, tested it, could prove and verify that it was a good system. And I went over to the NREL in Denver, in Golden actually, a few times. And that's where I learned that the big industry and DOE had gotten together, and the big industry didn't want to pay anybody, small scale people. They didn't want to pay them for the power they produced. And that was how things were shaping up. And so the DOE, which as far as I'm concerned, are corrupt, just as corrupt and the NREL corrupt, not scientific, corrupt. That's what I think they are, because they were in the tank on all that crap. And so small scale solar, which makes a lot of sense, went out of the window at that point. The only reason you see small scale solar nowadays is because solar panels are small, and you can put solar panels on your house. That person's going to turn. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to cross over the highway once again. Or do we? Yes, we do. No, we don't. Yeah, we do. Oh, I think we do. Okay. I think we can. Maybe that's the way to put it. Yeah. I believe so. Let me see if I can find it. I believe I can find it. There we go. Frontage. Okay. Anyway, to continue with my story, and I like the fact that we're going over, you're getting a good view of the area this way. You wouldn't be getting this wide of a view if I were just on the interstate. We would have shot through here and you wouldn't have seen a lot of this stuff. So where was I? Oh yeah, griping about, yeah. So there was a big popularity in small scale systems, and at the time the NREL was into that. I mean, that was a sensible thing to do. And the industry stopped it. The electrical generation, power generation industry stopped that because they were so greedy. They didn't want to have to compete with small scale systems. That's really the whole thing. And they shut it down. And I wasted all of my time doing this project. I didn't have the money to build this thing. I probably should have just built it. Now knowing what I know now, I probably should have just built the thing and sold it. I probably could have done that, but that would have been tough. So I watched this government agency go corrupt and turn its back on the American people. Seriously, that's what it did. It sided with corporate interests. And the proof of that for me was one day I showed up in the NREL in the 90s, and there was this building that had a really long corridor in it. And that corridor had at the time, a prototype windmill wing, one blade, wing blade, whatever you want to call it, that took up pretty much the entire corridor. And I realized that that's where that went. Not only that, but I also, a year or two later, talked to a scientist who had taken part in selecting grants. And they would look at the pictures on the front of the grant application, and they go, yeah or no, and they drink coffee. They would never even open it up and look at it. I spent months on that grant. I spent months making sure that my math was right, making sure that my efficiency estimates were right. I mean, talk about a naive, silly person. That was me. But I was doing that because I thought that's what I needed to do. I mean, that does make sense, right? Well, in some universe it makes sense, but not in our corrupt society today. So, anyway. So solar at home makes sense. Solar panels right now are getting to the point where they make a little bit of sense. And I think that people could use them. And I think people should consider creating their own sources of power nowadays, because I don't trust the government. Well, let's put it this way. what is happening with the utility industry combined with government. And here we go. Here's our last little spot of the frontage road. Now we have to go back. In a way, we get a couple miles of frontage road. We get to go back. We're going to go back to the last exit, but so we have toured the frontage road. I think that where things appear to be going, and this really, really worries me, is that the bureaucrats using the climate hoax as an excuse want to shut down fossil fuels. They've wanted to do that for a long time. That's really the European Union and the CCP that wants to shut down the industrial engine in this country because they can't compete. Mainly CCP. And they've done a good job of it. And they've got a lot of useful idiot morons. And when I say that, I include pretty much every teacher in the United States that isn't a conservative. And for that matter, every education professional. When I say that, I mean principals, I mean whatever, administrators, anybody that's in the tank. They all push this line. The media pushes it. The bureaucrats push it. What's happening in California is the template for what they want happening around the world. They want to ration power to the great unwashed. That would be us. But they're using these excuses, which are bullshit excuses. Oh, well, the climate, things are getting really hot. Well, fossil fuels are damaging the environment. Did you know that the United States is the cleanest country when it comes to fuel use? I think it's got Europe beat. It certainly has China beat. China's building coal stations. I mean, if they're still doing it as much as they were a couple of years ago, they're like putting one online every day or two. A coal-fired power plant is what I mean. They've got the technology. I know this. I worked for a company that was in China, teaching the Chinese how to build efficient and useful power plants. Anyway, power plant, coal mine power plant, the whole infrastructure. So I've seen this. I'm kind of paying attention to the traffic here and where I'm at, so I'm a little bit off. Not 100% on my thoughts aren't staying right in track with my subject. But they killed small-scale solar. It's coming back a little bit, but what could have been achieved with small-scale probably will never be realized now because of what they did. Because a lot of potential, there's a huge amount of potential in small-scale solar. I could have taken my little system, done it, perfected it. I could have put that in backyards and on top of buildings and whatever, and I could have turned that into basically a solar air conditioner. But the utility industry didn't want that. And by the way, just to prove that point, remember we were told that all these LED light bulbs were going to save us a ton of money. How many people have looked at their electric bill after putting LED lighting in and didn't notice any difference in it or that it went up? The answer is almost everybody. So that's kind of just something to consider. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. Oh yeah, we're good. All right, everybody. I'm going to head on into Junction. I better stick my foot in it so that I can assimilate into the modern traffic. there's the frontage road we were just on, but we were also on the other side of the road, so very cool. Anyway, I think that people need to look into making their own sources of energy. I think it's pretty important. People should do that. They should do it anyway. But I think in today's political climate, you may have to actually shoulder the responsibility for your own power down the road. Because if our government continues to rot on the vine like it's doing, we'll see what happens with 2024. We'll see if they still have their fraud system in place that they had in 2020, which stole the election from Donald Trump, who is the rightful president of this country. We'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, y'all have a good day. If you're going somewhere, drive safe. And I will see you later. Take care. Bye.